Nicholas was a hardcore atheist who insisted that he didn't believe in any of that. But then he died in a car crash, woke up in heaven, and found himself face to face with God. In this interview, we find out exactly what he saw. Comment and let me know if this type of content appeals to you. And give Nick a shout out for sharing his story. And don't forget, if you've had a profound spiritual experience and would like to be a guest, you'll find the link to apply in the description box. Would you like to start by sharing anything that led up to your NDE that's relevant to the story, and then we'll move into your NDE?
Oh, it's I could sit around for hours and talk about that. I had a grandmother, and my grandmother, she just thought the world of me. It was like one of those deals where it's so obvious that grandma favors this one kid. You know what I mean? And so like uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters, they kind of get like, ah, Nick's a spoiled brat, and Meemaw does everything for him. And she was, I wouldn't say religious, she was extremely spiritual. And I loved my grandmother dearly. And but she would straight up. First, she would just, how do I say this? She would like just lay back in her chair. And she was very handicapped. So she couldn't get around much. So she kind of like stayed in a recliner, and she would like lean back in her chair and go into like this trance and like do these like this breathing thing. And she would just like do this for a couple hours. And you ask her, like, what are you doing? And she literally would be like, I'm meditating and talking to God. Like and I love my grandmother. I love my grandma so much. So I'm not going to be like, Grandma, you're crazy, but I love you. So she had this like very supreme connection with whatever it is out in the atmosphere, because she is, you know, from the old school. It ties into like old school Christianity and all that, and Jesus, and I think that's what she. How do I say? That's what she summed it up to. But and she would really talk about it unless you asked her about it, and then she would tell you anything that you want to know. I was full on by the time I was 12, 13 years old. I was full on atheist, so that whole thing of I love my grandma dearly. I'm not going to tell her, Grandma, you're crazy. There is no God. This is nonsense. You just, okay, Grandma, cool. So that was a big thing leading up to this. I was very secure because of how my life has played out, some health problems that I have, and some circumstances I was born into. I was very secure in that when you die, you just die. None of this makes any, it's all random. None of it makes any sense. Any kind of religion is just government control. Da 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 da. I guess the only thing that took me apart from like putting the actual label of atheist on myself was normally when somebody puts the label of atheism on themselves, you're going to know that about them within the first 5 minutes of meeting them. You know what I mean? They're always very vocal about, how was work today? Oh, cool. It's nice meeting you. And, then the next thing is, God's not real, right? And then they want to sit around and for an hour or two and debate whether God and religion and all this is real. And I didn't care. I didn't care. I was a popular musician. I had a lot going for me. I had, I didn't have tons of money, but I had money and toys, and I was in a popular rock and roll band, and, I had a pretty girlfriend, and, everything in the world going for me. It was like a blanket of comfort that I could put on top of me, to where all I got to do, because I want to be a nice guy. I want to be an honest person. I want people to be happy when I show up. But other than that, I want to be nice to people. I want to be fair. I want to be honest. I want to, not steal and hurt people or anything. But other than that, and excuse my language if you have to bleep this out or anything, I'm going to do whatever the I want to do. And that's it. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not taking from anybody. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and nobody can stop me. And when I die, hopefully I'll leave a good looking corpse, or I might be a grease stain on the side of the road. And I didn't care. I think they call that like nihilism or whatever. Is that called nihilism, where it's like you just don't care? Or
I believe it is. I'm looking it up really quick. The
uh-huh.
philosophical doctrine that rejects established values and beliefs, asserting that life is without objective meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value.
Yeah, that's a little bit above my pay grade.
Yeah.
So that's just the way I didn't care. I didn't care. And I was a professional at like IDGAF. I don't give a f- I don't care. So, and that was my whole outlook on it. Um, I was during the time of my near-death experience, I was on the top of the world, but through your own short-sighted, you know what I'm saying? Like you can have everything in the world going for you, but it's just you're going through a rough patch in life to where you kind of don't realize how good you have it at the moment.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and I don't know, should I just get into it right now? Just go ahead and start
Yeah,
laying
let's
down the
go
story?
for it. Let's dive in.
Okay. Okay, I was in a popular rock and roll band, not world famous, but I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and then within my city, I was very popular. It was, like hometown hero, rock star thing. Everywhere I went, people knew who I was. I could get into all the bars for free. I could get in all the concerts for free. I had a very beautiful girlfriend who I really loved, who I really loved because I was in a popular rock and roll band. I could have probably, not saying, oh, I can have any woman I want, but I had a choice. You know what I mean? And I loved her enough to always be considerate to her. And I never cheated on her. I never ran off with any other women. I stayed faithful to her. So I really did love her, but we were going through a rough patch. And despite my busy schedule and how popular and how cool I am, I'm still being considerate to you, as a boyfriend, and I don't feel like it's being reciprocated. And it had been like that for weeks and weeks, not weeks and weeks, probably about 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, so I think it was my accident was on the 18th of August. On the 17th of August that night, I decided right then, I said, look, I'm going to go to sleep tonight. And if I still feel the same way that I feel right now, I'm, I'm going to leave this woman. Like that's my granddad taught me that. Don't make brash decisions, sleep on it.
Right.
So I woke up that morning on the 18th and I still felt the same way about it. I was like, okay, that's it. I mean, this is going to suck. It's going to break my heart. I really do like this girl, but why am I putting all this effort into this relationship when I'm the man and I'm so cool? And, just a lot of ego there, a lot of vanity, a lot of ego. Uh, nice guy, but very egotistical, very conceited, very, very self-assured. I'm a short guy. I'm only 5 foot tall, so you talk about like little man syndrome. Oh yeah, I
Mhm.
got it. I got it in spades. Well, I used to, not anymore. It's different when you're in your 40s. But so I decided right then, I'm going to leave this woman, and I'll try to make this short as I can. It's so long and drawn out. But anyway, I had band rehearsal. I wasn't going to let her know now. I was going to the next time I seen her in a day or two, I was going to let her know. Today, I'm not bringing that drama to me. I've got a lot of things to do. It's going to be a very fun day, a very active day. I'm going to do my thing, and I'm just going to forget about it for a while, you know. And I had band rehearsal that day, and we had like it was dress rehearsal, because we were doing a concert in a few days from now. So we had all that set up and we had the studios swapped out, rented out, and everything was good. I was taking care of a friend's house uh, while he was out of town, going to his house 2 or 3 times a day, letting his dog out, checking his mail, all that stuff. So I head to the rehearsal space and I pull up and there's two cars. There's one of my band members' cars and then another car that was very obviously a girl's car. They had little stuffed animals and little butterflies and stickers, and it's a girl's car. So I walk around to the side of the studio, and there's a guitar strap on the doorknob. That's band code right there. We all know one of our bandmates is in there with a woman. I don't want to walk in and see this. I'm 20 minutes early anyway. So I'm going to run to the store real quick. I'm going to get some beers and, a pack of cigarettes. And so I get my car and I run to the store and I get a case of beer and I get some cigarettes and a candy bar or whatever. And I realized I was like, my friend, he's coming into town tonight. And by the time he comes into town, I'm going to be too busy and probably too inebriated to be able to go and drop his key off for him. And he's going to be locked out of his house. So I have an oh shit moment, put the beer in the trunk, get in the car. I go hauling ass down the road. It's Mountain Zion Road in about 30 minutes south of Atlanta. Pretty like busy 4-lane, uh, city highway. So I go hauling ass down the street. I'm not like crazy driving fast. I'm not a total maniac, but it's say if the speed limit's 40 miles an hour, I'm probably doing 45, 50 miles an hour, maybe, jumping out of traffic a little bit aggressive, but not, like road rage craziness. So I start tooling down the street and the street lights, I don't know why I remember that, but the street lights came on and the sun was going out. It's still daylight. And I'm cruising down the street and traffic's getting slow in the right lane. And I start to slow down and there's a long line of people that are turning right into the shopping mall. So turn signal, downshift. It was a little 5-speed car. Downshift, switch lanes. And now I'm going too fast down the hill, keeping my momentum back up the hill. And just as I'm about to turn in the other lane, a car pulls out in front of me. And I hit the car head on, the driver's side door. I could give you the whole statistics of like the crash, because I had to hire a crash recreation specialist and do all the math on this. But I'm a short guy, so I got to scoot my seat up close, and there's a knob on the dashboard. When the impact happened, my left knee hit that knob on the dashboard, and it hit the knob so hard that it pushed it into the dashboard, and it shattered the corner of my knee. Well, when it shattered the corner of my knee, it tore the main artery in my leg. I didn't know it, but I was bleeding to death. And I was banged up too. I had some broken ribs. The airbag broke my nose. I had some glass in my eye, and I was banged up bad. My knee was that was like the ticking time bomb. That's like, you're going to die, basically. That's all this is like. Sorry, I get a little shaky when I start talking about this part.
If you've been feeling disconnected from spirit, disconnected from divine love, I have an offering for you. I now offer one-on-one energy work sessions. It's my very favorite work that I've ever done. I completely rebalance your energy field and give you a transfusion of divine love and healing energy for any specific area of need. And follow it up with feedback on what I find in your energy field, a little bit of spiritual coaching, and simple takeaway practices that you can take into your life and implement to help you cultivate a deep connection with divine love. I offer 30-minute sessions, 45-minute sessions, and I'm currently offering 50% off on my 4-session package. Check the link in the description to sign up.
Sorry, I get a little shaky when I start talking about this part. Now, if we take and we stop right here, I could say that I was in an accident. A bunch of really traumatic stuff happened. It was very painful. I was in and out. I got life flight to the hospital. I woke up 2 days later with everything very foggy. You know what I mean? I guess the human mind has a way of blocking like trauma out until you're ready to deal with it. My birthday is August the 20th. I woke up on August the 20th on the same day I was born, in the same hospital I was born, at the same time I was born, 25 years later.
Oh, wow.
That's weird, huh? It's like one of those, it's just odd that 25 years, I wake up in the hospital on the same day I was born. And it was like, that was really weird. I didn't think about that till later. I thought it was just a funny little coincidence at the time, because I woke up on August the 20th and I felt like I'd been reborn. Like I felt like I didn't have a problem in the world. I'm sitting here on oxygen and I got to stint my, just the most horrible condition in the world. Here I am sitting in the hospital and I feel like I've just won the lottery for some reason. It was the oddest feeling in the world. Anyway, so let's go back to the accident. Let's just say I had to, like, through dreams and all that, all this stuff started coming back to me.
Right.
So in my atheistic mind, it gave me a lot of ammunition to doubt it and explain it away. Because, like I said, that atheism, that was a comfort to me. It was like that blanket you had when you were 2 years old. It was just, I was more comfortable with that than the reality of, like, there's some other place and it's for eternity. That scared the hell out of me. It absolutely scared me to death. So I did a lot of scraping and scrambling, trying to just cling on to that idea of atheism. It was realizing that there was some kind of afterlife that was just as traumatic, if not more traumatic, than the accident itself. So, get back to the accident. I'm in the accident. My knee hits the dashboard. I'm looking around. I'm dazed. I think it knocked me out for a few minutes because when I woke up, everything was blurry and I was already hearing sirens in the background and, cop cars pulling up, people poking their head in the window. And you say, so I start hearing all the ambulances, everything coming, and I go to get out of the car and I feel fine. I don't feel any pain at all. It's a lot of adrenaline going there, very hyped up, heart beating fast, adrenaline pumping moment. And so I go to get out of the car and it's just like instantly this pain that, I mean, it literally felt like a lightning bolt, like hit me in the top of the head. Like literally when I started to get up, I saw that flash of lightning in my eyes and I passed out for a little bit from the pain. At least I think I did because I felt that flash when I was pulling myself up like this. And then I came back to and I was slumped down. So I guess I passed out for a little bit. And so I tried again and the same thing, lightning bolt through the head pain. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was a firefighter or a paramedic. He pokes his head in the window and he says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Man, I don't think so. I think I'm messed up." And he said, "Well, just hold tight. We're going to get you out of there." So they're working on the car and they're busting out the jaws of life and they're getting all the doors open and everything. And now I'm starting to get scared. It takes a lot to freak me out. I'm a pretty level-headed, reasonable person. When everybody else is freaking out, I'm usually the person like, "Okay, calm down. Let's take a second." And so I'm really, like, mentally, I'm starting to loosen it. And then he said, "Okay, we're gonna have to get you out of here and put you on this backboard." And I said, "Okay." And as soon as they put their arms up under me and touch me, that lightning bolt of pain goes off in me again. And so now I'm going into shock. I'm in and out of consciousness. I'm remembering like flashes of them getting me out of the car and getting me into the ambulance. And I am freaking out, which is totally unlike me. I'm calm, cool. I'm the coolest guy in the world as far as I'm concerned. So I'm freaking out. I'm crying in pain. I'm just like full on meltdown because of the pain and how scared I am. And so they get me in the ambulance and they get me on the backboard. And all of a sudden, this supreme peace that I'd never felt before washes over me. It was like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like this. I still to this day have never felt an inner peace and a calm like what washed over me. And so I kind of like, and I look over at my arm and they have an IV in my arm. They must have just given me morphine. That's what my logic tells me. That instant that washed over me, they must have given me the baddest morphine that has ever existed because this is great. Now that I'm in this calm and I'm chill now. I start feeling silly because just 2 minutes ago, I'm yelling and screaming and crying and acting, like a sissy or whatever, there's that ego again,
Right.
just acting a fool. So I start feeling embarrassed for myself. And at the same time, I'm feeling embarrassed for myself. I am so appreciative, like the love that I'm feeling for these firefighters and paramedics that are saving me. It was like, I can't even explain how calm and loving this feeling was. I could sit here and talk about it for hours. So I start talking to them and I start blabbering on about, oh, you guys are great. Y'all are American heroes. You just saved my life. I appreciate you so much. I love you. Uh, I feel silly. I know I really was. I'm sorry I was screaming and yelling like that. It was really hurting. I don't know why I freaked out that bad. I'm so sorry. These people aren't paying attention to me at all. They're not paying attention to me. And I'm just just rambling on. Nobody's paying attention to me. And then there was a female paramedic, and she was adjusting my legs, and she looks over like that, and she gets this horrified look on her face, and she goes, "We need to get his clothes off now." And I was like, well, "Okay, but you got me strapped down. I don't think it." And they just, there's three, four of them, I don't know, however many one of them. They start going to work. They bust out scissors and start just cutting my clothes off. Back to the vanity thing. Uh, Gene Simmons, when I was a little kid, I heard Gene Simmons in an interview say, if you want to be a rock star, you don't leave the house unless you look like a rock star. If that's what you want, you need to live it every day. And for a 7-year-old to hear that, it stuck with me all the way until I was 24, 25 years old. So I was dressed to the, like, I'm not big about bragging about money, but I had a really expensive outfit on, really expensive jewelry, custom shoes, custom tailored jeans. I had the whole rock star, get the eyebrow and the nipples pierced and earrings and, custom jewelry and all that stuff. And they start cutting all this stuff off of me. I'm like, whoa, like, wait a minute. You're cutting off my gear, man. Like, that you're just trashing a $2,000 or whatever monetary value you're asked. I was like, wait, stop. And they're not paying attention to me. They are not paying attention to me. They can't hear a word I'm saying. The lady gets my shirt off. And like I said, I had nipple piercings. And she, just as urgently as she said, we got to get his clothes off, she goes, he's got piercings. So I start, oh, those are easy. It's like a little, just spread that apart and the ball comes out and you can slide it out. It might be, they're not paying attention to me. So now I'm starting to get concerned. I'm yelling at them like, hey, not paying attention to me. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm outside. I'm about half a mile up the street in a parking lot that I realize I'm outside. I'm looking down and it's noisy. Just all this, da, da, ba, 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 just, and the pulse of the wind and everything. And then bam, I'm out. I am somewhere else. And it was a place where it's just like the same old cliche. Like they say that time doesn't exist, space doesn't exist, all that. It does not exist. This is, give me a second.
Take your time.
I can skip from this part right here and say that I woke up in the hospital, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to include this part. But this part right here is something that I had to recall through my memory. All right. I walked through this doorway and it's like these big, beautiful double doors. It starts out as a light. There's a light, and then like the light opened up and I walked through these double doors and I'm in this. Time doesn't exist, space doesn't exist. You understand everything all of a sudden. Language is not needed. You don't know. I don't know exactly where I am, but I have a feeling like it felt like a school. It felt like a place of learning, but without the penitentiary vibes that the public school system has, like when I was growing up. This was like I don't know. I don't know what this place was, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And there was a beautiful woman, and she had her hands out. She said, we've been waiting on you. Come with us. And I know who this woman is. in this lifetime that I'm sitting here right now, I don't know who this woman is. But during this experience, I know who this woman is. And she's beautiful. And I love her. And it wasn't like, it felt like we were lovers, but without the sex aspect to it. Because we have so many things on this world that we live in that it's just not like that on the other side. We equate love with sex or, erotic moments and sex, it's all sweaty and hot and messy and, kind of dirty. And we kind of like associate that with love. But if you could imagine the most supreme love in the world without any sex, because the love is just it squashes all that. It squashes all those human desires and those animal instincts. Go to this woman, she leads me down this hallway and she takes me through this doorway. And in this doorway is this choir and this band. And it's like orchestral. And the choir, they can generate this sound just by swaying back and forth. And I can't even describe the sound that they were making. And I still can't, I can hear it to this day and I can't duplicate it. And I'm a damn musician. You don't have no idea how frustrating that is to be a musician and know a music theory and know all the notes and not being able to recreate the sound that's in my head, but it was gorgeous. When she took me in this room, you can look this up, you can add this in later, but the only thing on this earth that I can describe this as is it looked like the Tabernacle in Atlanta, Georgia, which the Tabernacle is an old church that's very beautiful and very ornate. It's a big stage and a floor, and it's got multiple rows of balconies. And I'm up in this place, and that's what it blows the Tabernacle in Atlanta completely out of the water. But that's the only thing I can describe it that I know of to, associate with what this place might look like. And she leads me upstairs to the balcony, and we're up on the top balcony, and we're staring down at this choir and this band, and they're making this just beautiful music. And it's like they're generating it up at us. That's the only way I can describe it. I don't know. They're just sending this love and this beautiful sound to us. And me and this woman, we were up there together, and it's just love. I would say that it was something that was like, sexy or erotic or whatever, but it was just the feeling of love was a million times more than anything that, like how you could love your wife or your kid or, when you make love to your wife or whatever like that. Like it's indescribable. It's indescribable. And then this pillar comes down and it just like thousands of feet tall, and it just boom and slams into the ground, and the ground breaks apart, and the ground is rocking and rolling, and you look up, and this pillar, it's like a giant sword. And it was like 1/1 millionth of what God is showed himself to me. Just a little sliver, like not even a grain of sand. And it's the most, I don't even have words for it. I don't have words for it. It's like 1,000 foot tall of the most beautiful, terrifying, loving thing that you could possibly imagine. And then everything starts rolling, and then everything flips around, and I'm in the dark. And I'm in the dark, and one little pinprick, like prick. I don't know how old you are, but you ever seen a toy from the 80s called the Light Bright?
I don't think I have. I was born in the 80s, but I think I was a little too late.
Yeah, but it's just, it was basically a bunch of little light bulbs, and you'd put a black piece of construction paper over it, and you would poke a hole in it, and it would expose one light.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Put a
Yeah.
black piece of construction paper, and I got a light behind it, and I just prick it once, and all you see is that little pinprick of light.
Okay.
It was like that, completely dark, just boom, one little light, and it just expanded until it engulfed everything. And a lot of, I could sit here because there was a lot of unconversation that went on. because, like I said, there is no speech. You just, these ideas are presented to you, you understand them, and you fire them back. I wish I could do that. It'd be so much
You
easier.
and me both. It would be so much easier.
Um, there was a lot of dialogue there. And for me to recite all of it, I'd have to lay back and close my eyes and go through it step by step. But anyway, it was, you can't stay here. That was the gist of it. You can't stay here. And I'm like, I want to stay here. You know, this is perfect. This is where I belong. I don't belong down there, you know. And it was like, well, what about all the people that love you down there? I'm like, they're going to experience this one day too. You know, they'll be all right. And it was wrong answer, and then shot back down. Uh, but there's a saying that I had anytime, you know, in my prior life, anytime that the religion subject would come up, because I already expressed to you how I just didn't care. I don't want to talk about it. Uh, I had a very, what I thought was a cordial way to just shoot it down. You know, okay, let's stop talking about this. They'd be like, look, if that's what you believe, Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, whatever, great. I love it for you. I'm happy for you. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't believe in that shit, and I don't want to discuss it. I've got better things to do than sit around talking about things that I deem as nonsense. So that was the saying. I don't believe in that shit. So here I am. I'm up, and I have this light talking to me. Say, do you want to stay? You want to stay? You can't stay. No, you can't stay. And then it rang through me. It seemed like a woman's voice that said it. But she said, remember, Nicholas, you don't believe in any of this shit. Oh my God. I still can't. Like, I still, it's hard to deal with. As soon as those words, remember, Nicholas, you don't believe in any of this shit. It's like somebody reached up inside me and just ripped my heart out. I felt so embarrassed, and I felt so worthless. I felt like a bratty little kid who had been disobedient. Just shameful. Shameful. Okay. So now that I got that little short increment in the story, we'll go back to I'm a half mile up the street, it's really noisy, and bam, I'm somewhere else. The biggest thing that I remember after that is I'm back in my body, and I'm hearing doot doot and like the hospital noises, and I open my eyes, and that girl that I had just convinced myself that I'm going to break up with her, she is standing over me, and she's looking down on me, and she's crying, and she's frantically saying, calm down, calm down, calm down. It's going to be okay. They said it wasn't your fault. That guy pulled out in front of you. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm perfectly calm. I'm perfectly calm, like nothing happened. And I'm starting to realize, like, I was there, and now I'm back here. And in this timeline right here, everything is horrible because I was just in this accident. And so I'm freaking out about, I was there, now I'm here. I was there, now I'm here. And then she's like wiping the tears off of her face. And she's just like, what did you, like, why did you do that? Or how did you do that? Or whatever. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? She was like, 2 minutes ago, you came out of your thing and were crying and speaking in tongues and reciting religious scripture and quoting the Bible and asking for repentance. And here's another thing too. My girlfriend, she was devout Catholic, and I was devout. I don't give a shit. So when I was in the ICU and I start talking all this crazy stuff and start repenting, she recognizes this scripture from Bible because she's been learning it all her life. I had never picked up a Bible a day in my life, but that's what she said. She's like, you were just yelling and screaming and crying and asking God for forgiveness and reciting Bible scriptures. And I was like, well, was I? She was like, yeah, it was really weird. I was like, okay, well, I don't feel anything. Like I got all these people coming up to me and tell me how banged up I am and how, how bad of shape I am. I don't feel anything. I don't feel any pain. I don't have that perfect inner peace and that love feeling anymore, but I'm not in any pain at all. I'm not in any urgency, no adrenaline, I'm just like if I came by your house on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock and you were just sitting there doing nothing, bored out of your mind. That's how just chill I was about it. And I was like, well, am I paralyzed? Because I can't feel anything. And she said, no, but you're messed up. Like you're bad messed up. And it's like, okay. So now word's getting around the hospital that, okay, this guy has come to, he is now conscious. And I have all these people coming at me, all these people, doctors and nurses, and um, not to mention that the woman that I was just about to break up with, she heard about it and then was the first one at the scene that came to my rescue. So I'm starting to kind of feel guilty about that. You know what I mean? Like I was just about to break up with this chick and she left her job like a crazy person and came and rescued me. So they start coming at me and they start telling me all these things, and it's very overwhelming. And then as all this overwhelming stuff is starting to happen, the pain is starting to come on. And it's like it felt like a freight train that was moving at 2 miles an hour, you know, like it's coming in really slow, but this thing weighs 1 million tons and you're not stopping it. Like, here comes the pain, buddy. You better tighten down. And then they say, well, we're going to take, now that you're two, we're going to move you over to this room over here that's, connected to the emergency room. And then we're going to get you prepped up for emergency surgery because you're bleeding to death internally. We got to we got to do surgery. The doctor, he's leaving right now. He's on his way. We're moving to his room. So he moved me into the room. And I asked the nurse, I was like, look, man, I'm starting to really experience a lot of pain here. Um, do you think you could give me some more morphine? And she said, more morphine? I said, yeah, in the ambulance, they gave me morphine and it really worked good. I wasn't feeling any pain. She's like, you didn't get here in an ambulance and they didn't give you any morphine. I was like, yeah, they did. Yeah, because I was in an ambulance and I seen the IV and, and I had the calm wash over me and I didn't feel any pain. Yeah, they definitely gave me morphine. She's like, sir, I assure you, you were just in a horrible accident, in and out of consciousness, in and out of shock, bleeding to death internally. She said, I promise you, the last thing in the world that the paramedics are going to do in that situation is give you morphine. Makes sense, right? So now the pain's coming on stronger and stronger. And I'm just sitting here bawling my eyes out because not only is this pain rushing in, but they're calling me a liar. They're calling me a liar. I swear they gave me morphine. They're just being mean to me or whatever. But they didn't give me morphine. I had checked out. That's what happened. But they left me in there and I'm crying. I'm bawling my eyes out. I swear they gave me morphine and all this stuff. And I don't know if it was 5 minutes. I don't know if it was 2 hours. The nurse came back in and she's like, no, before she left, when I was crying about the morphine, she said, it doesn't matter. The doctor's going to be here within the hour and you're going to be under anyway. Okay. So this pain is just for the next few minutes. You're going to be out soon. So I said, okay. And I'm sitting here crying about it. I swear they gave me morphine and she left. And I don't know if she was gone 5 minutes. I don't know if she's gone 2 hours or whatever. Seemed like forever. She comes back in the room and she said, she's got this look on her face. She's like, I am so sorry, but the doctor can't make it. He is held up. I don't know what his deal was. They told me what all was going on, but I don't remember. It's almost like I was just in a car accident and can't remember stuff. But she said the doctor's not going to be able to make it for a few hours, and we're not going to be able to give you anything for this pain. The only thing that we're going to be able to do is keep giving you emergency blood transfusions and keeping an eye on you. And this is going to be hard for you, but you're just going to have to tough it out. And I just I never felt so hopeless in my life, because 3 hours ago, I was the master of my own destiny. I wasn't like a junkie or anything, but if I was in pain on my own accord, I could go find some pain medicine or whatever and take it. And now that power and everything is being stripped away from me. I can't even walk to get up and go to the bathroom. I'm in this horrible situation. I'm in this horrible pain. Now this lady's telling me that there's nothing you could do. So they stick me upstairs in a regular hospital room on the top floor. And from like 9 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the next morning, I sat up in that room with no pain medicine, tourniquet on my leg, these nurses waking me up every 20, 30 minutes to make sure I didn't, fall out or anything. And that right there, that situation of being in unmedicated, just traumatic, horrifying pain for like, I don't know if it was 12 hours, whatever, that had a lot to do with that wiping all the memory of that away. Um, so then after that, I can make the story a lot longer telling the rest of this that I remember, but it was just from August the 18th till August the 20th, I just had a bunch of surgeries. And then I woke up August the 20th, again, 25 years from my birthday, same hospital, same time, woke up, birds chirping, all this stuff, and everything was fine. And all this was just a blurry memory. It was just a blurry memory. And so I started to recover, started to get all my stuff back. And I start having these dreams. And my mom is still alive at the time. And they're crazy dreams, and they involve my mom and they involve my family. They're all me and my mom and my dad and my family and my grandma and grandpa oriented. Every single one of these dreams. So I start telling my mom about these dreams. And every time I tell her about one of these dreams, she gets a confused look on her face. She's like, "Who told you that?" I was like, "No, I just had a dream." And I never really remember my dreams, but for some reason, these dreams right here, they just stuck with me and I remembered them. And it was everything from, that was the day that you learned how to walk. That was the day that we brought you home from the hospital. That was the day that so and so died, but you were only like 2 weeks old. So I don't know how you remember that. That happened before you were born. A bunch of these dreams I said, like, "Who told you about that?" It's like, I had a dream. I could see it. Just said, like, "No, that was before you were born. There's no way you can remember that." I start having all these dreams and I think I'm losing my mind. But the only thing that keeps me from thinking that I'm losing my mind is every time I ask my mom about it, she's like, "Yeah, that definitely happened. But I don't see how you remember that. Like you were just an infant, or that happened before you were born, or that person died 2 years before you were born." And like I recalled an uncle that had died like 2 or 3 years before I was born. She was like, "Yeah, that's Uncle so and so." I don't. So I start having these dreams. And then it's a few months later, and my grandmother, the grandmother I was just telling you about how much I loved her, she has a stroke. She goes into a coma. Uh, I don't hear about it. I was out of town for something, so I don't get to it to the next day. But when I get back in town, and I'm still on crutches at this point, having problems getting around, still can't drive. Uh, my uncle says, like, "Grandma had a stroke. She's in a coma. She's not responsive. It's just is probably grandma's checking out, basically. So if you're going to say goodbye to her or whatever, you need to go up to the hospital and do it now." So I find somebody to give me a ride to the hospital. I go do that. She's just, she's, she's not there anymore. Her body's there. She's hooked up to all these machines. She doesn't even look the same. And it's just so, it, I hated it. I hated every bit of it. Anyway, so I say my goodbyes and I'm crying and I go home and it's on my mind for the next day. And it's 2 days later. And unlike me, I'm the kind of person that I would stay up all night working in the studio and writing because when you're recording, you need everything quiet. You know, you don't need to record at 3 p.m. on a Sunday when people are walking up and downstairs. So I would set late, but for some reason, and you gotta admit by this point too, like I was in this really bad accident. I already have a degenerative bone disease, so I could already get prescriptions for, narcotic painkillers. So now you add that on top of I was just in this horrible hot auto accident. I have more, like I'm up to my eyeballs in prescription drugs. Like it was kind of irresponsible to give somebody that many drugs all at one time. But I was never like junked out or like a druggy kind of dude. It just as needed. But I was pretty loopy, and I think I drank a beer for the first time in a while, and I had smoked a little bit of pot with a friend who came by. So I went to bed early that night. I went to bed at like 10:30 at night, which is totally unlike me. So I lay down, and then as soon as I lay down, I open my eyes and it's daylight. It's literally like I just close my eyes and I open my eyes and it's the next day. And I'm like looking around, and I'm not, when you wake up, you're still groggy and tired, and none of
Yeah.
that. It just, eyes are open, just like I've been awake this whole time. I'm like, what? And I'm looking around and I hear this noise. And I hear this most beautiful noise that I've ever heard in my life. Remember that choir I told you about?
Yeah.
Remember those people swaying back and forth?
Yep.
That was the noise I was hearing. And I wake up and I'm hearing this noise. I'm like, wow, what is that? And so I get up and I walk over to my bedroom. And this was like a split level, 3-story home, like first, second, third level. I'm up at the top floor and I open up my blinds and I hear this sound coming from outside. And I open the blinds, and across the street, filling up the whole yard, is that choir that I was telling you about during my near death experience. But see, in this dream that I'm having right here, this was the first time I'd seen that choir. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
Because
makes sense.
this in my recollection, this is the first time I'm seeing this choir because I haven't had like that. The what happened in that crash hasn't come back to me yet. I'm still like
Okay.
a blank slate. And this choir, they're swaying back and forth, and this sound is radiating off of them. I can't even describe the way that this sound would radiate off of them. It was visual. It was so thick. It was like, I wish I could describe it. I wish I could. And they're motioning me, come to us, come to us. And so I'm like, okay. And I go to turn around, and they're like, no, 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 come this way. I'm like, on a third-story window. I'm not going to jump out of the window. And then I just realized, wait a minute, I'm sitting here standing. I walked up to the window without my crutches. And I turn around and I'm laying in bed. And there I am, just peaceful, laying in bed with the crutches laying up next to the bed. And as soon as I did, as soon as I saw myself laying there, it was like somebody picked up the house about a foot off the ground and dropped it. Like, like it was a concussion, like thunder, the house being dropped. And I turned back around to the window, and now this choir of people is emergency, like, come now, come now. And waters are starting to come into the streets, and like it's the whole world's rocking like an earthquake. And then the water washes those people away, and I freak out and I turn around and I run out of the door and I run down the stairs. And it was 3-story house that was like 12 stairs. And I clear all those stairs in one step. And I go down to the kitchen, and the house is rocking. And I open up the blinds and I look in my backyard, and then these waves are just churning. It's just like the most violent ocean you could ever see. And there's these boats, these old wooden boats, and these demons, and they got fire shooting out of their eyes and their mouths, and they've got these, like every point on their body had fire coming out of it. Like if you could imagine if all your fingertips were on fire and all your toes were
Mhm.
on fire and your ears were on fire and your nose and every single one of your teeth and your eyes, and just these horrible looking, just demonic looking entities. And they're all cackling and laughing like they're having a great time. And they're coming up to, I guess, the house, and they're setting the edge of the house on fire, and then they're setting this neighbor's house on fire. And then I start to remember, okay, those people up there, they just told me to jump out the window. And these things are about to, I'm either going to drown or burn up down here. So I might as well go run up back upstairs and jump out the window. So I run up, and I go back upstairs and I open the blinds and everything is perfectly calm. Beautiful Sunday, birds chirping, sun shining, beautiful August day, nothing, just beautiful. And I'm like, just I was like that, just like, what is going on? And so I turn around, I walk back out the room and I stop and I look at myself for a second. I kind of just like, I look kind of weird. And I walk back downstairs and instead of going to the window this time, I go to the garage door because it was like a kitchen. And then in the garage, this door goes out to the garage and then you can get in your car and leave the house. So I open up the door and the automatic garage door opener, as soon as I open the door, the automatic garage door opener goes boo and starts going up itself. And I walk out and I sat down in a chair that we had next to the door. And my grandmother's dog, her name was Molly. Molly was a basset hound. She comes walking into the door, just trotting with her big dumb floppy ears. And I was like, Molly, what's up? And I realized, wait, Molly died 5 years ago. And I look up and there's this orb that's about the size of a basketball following in behind Molly. And it gets right up next to me. And for the first time, I feel that love. And in my grandmother's voice, I hear, wake up, baby. I'm going home. And then, bam, I was awake. As soon as I opened my eyes, the telephone rang. I picked up the phone. It was my Aunt Mary. She said, Nick, Mima just took her last breath about 2 minutes ago. She's gone. So that right there, that was the first experience I had where I started recalling everything that happened in the accident. All right. And I didn't know it at the time, but that ability that my grandmother had to sit, to lay back and to close her eyes and to meditate and go into these trances and communicate and all that, I guess she took and she left that for me when she passed on. Does that make any sense? Like
Yes.
she had that ability and okay, I'm gone now. Now you can have it.
So now you're able to do that?
I don't know how to control it. I don't. So I get like these spells of, my dreams are dreams and I usually forget about them very shortly, but then I'll have these, I took from that accident happened in 2004. So by 2005, I was starting to have these experiences. So from 2005 up until about 2017, I did everything that I possibly could to try to erase all of that, to forget it, to make it go away, because I didn't want it. And I felt like I was losing my mind. And I sought, mental counseling and I went to doctors and I did pain pills and I drank alcohol and I smoked weed. And I did that to the point where I could sit there and do drugs and alcohol and smoke weed all I want. And it just doesn't go away. And it never goes away. It never goes away. And I ended up going from somebody that had everything in the world going for them to, and that accident, I recovered from that accident and I ended up becoming even more popular than I was before. Because now there's like this story behind, the lead guitarist for this band and he died in this accident and he came back and here he is a year later and he's still into a packed house. And you know what I mean? So it made me even more popular. And I just slowly just feed it drugs and alcohol, try to forget it. And I'd have one of these experiences and I'd wake up and just dump more pills and alcohol on top of it. And you know what? Eventually I got it to work. I got it to work until I looked around. It took like 3-4 years later, I looked around and I'm like, I'm not in a popular band anymore. I don't have any friends anymore. I don't have people kissing my butt, want me to do all these things for them. I don't have this anymore. Look at me. I'm a junkie. I'm the person that 2 years ago, everybody wanted to be my friend. Everybody wanted me to hang out. Now nobody calls me anymore. Nobody invites me to the cool kid parties. Nobody, I don't, people aren't mailing me free tickets to go to the show. People aren't, and I did it. I dumped enough drugs and alcohol on top of that. I forgot it. And it literally, it sucked it all out from under me until around 2017 when it would just like, I would build myself up and I would lose everything. And I'd work hard and I'd build myself up and I'd lose everything. And then I was like, okay, I just submit to it. I'm just going to submit to it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to submit to this. Okay, here it is. And I just stopped. And it was crazy. It's crazy. It's like one day I drank, next day I didn't. I just stopped smoking cigarettes, like just one day, like, oh, I'm sick of it. And it took about a year after that. And once it was about a year after I stopped drinking alcohol, that fog starts lifting and I start remembering all this stuff. And, like my creativity starts coming back to me. I start seeing the world and, the world's not gray anymore. It turned black and white for a second and then it slowly got back to, oh, it's in color again. And I start remembering all this stuff. And then I started realizing that, when I talk about that accident from the time I woke up to the hospital to the time I had surgery, like I had remembered that all along. I had just dumped enough drugs and alcohol on it. It's like if you take everything in the front of your filing cabinet and you just shove everything to the back, you shove all this shit to the back and you bury a bunch of stuff on top of it. Now, before you know it, it takes hours and hours to find anything that you might need. But that brings me till today. And I'm just now dealing with all this. Spiritually, I feel like a toddler, like I feel like the same way I did when I was a little kid, when I'd walk outside, like there's joy and there's wonder to the world. Like when I see something, I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, oh, that's beautiful. Just like things hit me like that. And so um, this is the path I'm on now. And I don't know if it's like a spiritual awakening or whatever, but I'm just trying to get, I have these out of body experiences. I don't know, like I hear people calling it astral traveling or I've talked to church people. The thing with church people that I've found it over the years that anything that hasn't been told to them by their Bible or their preacher, it's automatically evil and it's satanic and,
Yeah.
Stay far away from that. And so I've met a lot of scam artists, because
Oh, yeah.
you'll hear about people talking and going on. I've listened to thousands of these podcasts and like you'll hear about these people telling their story and like, oh, I got some questions. And then that point where you start like, oh, this happened to me. And then you start realizing like they don't really believe in any of this or they've got a book to sell or they have, they have a show that they're trying to promote or, whatever. But so, yeah, you're actually the first doorway to this. And I am so glad that you like emailed me back and had me coming on because like I said, I don't have anything to sell. Um, I would really like to be able to like just make music and work in the studio and sell my songs and not have anybody bug me and not have any type of, everybody wants to be famous until they're famous.
Right.
That just that hometown, just that city of Atlanta fame that I had with everybody bugging me and everything, it's overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. And so now I'm just hoping that this will be the first step to start talking about this and like to meet and get to talk to some like really legit people. Cause like I said, I feel like I'm spiritually a toddler. I'm like a 3-year-old. I don't know what I'm doing. Having dreams and experiences that if you were to talk to them in a normal, society or whatever, you would be put in the loony bin, or if I'm under spiritual attack and then, there's all these people talking all this stuff and like, oh, this is what you do and this is what you do. And then when you come to them with a real life, like, look, this really happened to me. And they're kind of like, like that look you get, like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's that, okay, I'm full of crap, but I know I'm full of crap. So this person telling me about their experience, they're either full of crap too, or they're crazy. And they look like they believe what they're saying. So these people are crazy. The first time I ever went, before I started throwing drugs and alcohol on top of it, when I was still remembering all this stuff, and like that experience that I had with my grandmother,
Hmm.
the first thing I did was go to a friend of a family's church, and I got to the top of the food chain as far as the pastor. Like I talked to the very head of the church,
Hmm.
and I told her the story and some of the things that had been happening to me, and she was very she stayed quiet. She was paying attention to me. I could tell she was listening to what I say. She soaked everything in and she let me talk. And she's like, okay, well, I've got to ask you something, sir. Are you on drugs?
Oh no.
Like, yes, I'm on drugs. I just got one of the most horrible accidents of my life. I'm in physical therapy. I just came to your church on crutches. Of course, yes, I am on drugs, but I'm not having a psychotic episode. This is real, you know? So that was like the first experience I had with that, like just having my heart ripped out. Like, here's this lady that she's a high ranking, important person in her own church, and she doesn't. You know what I mean? She's not
Yeah.
open to any of it, you know? So,
Yeah. Well, Nick, I want to thank you so much for being willing to share. And I feel so grateful that you wanted to share on my podcast with my viewers.
mhm.
I know it's not easy to talk about. I've had similar experiences with the majority of people in my life just not knowing how to respond because they either think probably that I'm making it up or that I'm
Yes,
a little bit crazy, right? So I totally
yes.
get how hard it is to talk about it. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, getting back at me, and having this experience. It's great. And I hope to have a lot more of these. I hope some people see this and it, helps them in some way. And, maybe they can have this experience. And I'm hoping that I can just kind of get some kind of grasp on all this, all these. I don't know if it's like superpowers or abilities or whatever. I don't know, man. But hopefully within the next couple of years, I can get a grasp on this. Because I think there's something that's very powerful inside me and I don't know how to use it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to encourage you when you say that you feel like a spiritual toddler, that in some ways, I mean, I'm not trying to dismiss how overwhelming or complicated it may seem, but in some ways, that's the place to be because we can get so caught up in
Yeah.
trying to intellectualize everything. But you're in this state of just being in awe of life, in awe of
Yes.
everything that's happened to you. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, do you have any links that you want me to share with people, or do you want to tell people where they can find you?
No, I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Little Nick and the
Hmm.
Giants. I've got I've done some covers. I really haven't even scratched the surface, but my video series is on there about this near death experience. It's NDE1, NDE2. And it's the same. It's the picture of the car that I crashed. And it's over these 5 videos. And I think there's 3 or 4 of them where people had commented questions and I answered them and talked to a few people. But well, not the whole story, because the whole story is 20 years long. The meat and the potatoes of the story is on there in 5 different videos. So if anybody wants to come check those out, they're more than welcome to. Again, that's Little Nick and the Giants. If you want to, when you put your description for your video up, if you want to put the link to Little Nick and the Giants up, if you would like to go there yourself and check it out, then that's fine too. But yeah, that's
Yep.
the only thing I have. I don't have anything to sell. I don't have anything to promote. I really would just like to start, communicating with people and get some more understanding on all this.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put that link in the description so people can check it out. And then the final question that I ask all of my guests is if you could give one message to everyone on the planet, what would it be?
We're here to learn to love. We're here to learn to love.
Thank you so much for watching. My guests' links can be found in the description box. If you have had a near-death experience, pre-birth experience, out-of-body experience, past or between life memories, or spiritual awakening story that you would like to share, find the link to apply in the description box. If you would like to support the channel, we have a few fun ways that you can do that. I do have a merch store linked in the description. We've put some of the phrases on t-shirts that you guys requested. I have affiliate links to my favorite blue blockers, my favorite red light panel, and a couple of other companies that I work with. You can join my membership at the Sanctuary. You can sign up for an energy healing. I also offer a 4-session energy healing package. You'll find all these links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Now go live your most extravagantly loving life.